Baseball winter meetings, not what they used to be. Hi, everybody. I am Dan Lavallo, and this is the Sportscaster Dan podcast. And I can't help but think as I put this podcast together on December the 10th, as the baseball winter meetings continue, albeit by remote, they're not the same. I understand that they have to do this because of COVID by way of Zoom and Skype and whatever other technology that they use, that it's all on remote. But gone are the days when general managers or the head of a baseball team, because they now have the head of baseball operations as a title, gone are the days when they used to get together in hotel rooms. They used to get together in hotel lobbies. They used to meet in the corner of a hotel lobby and would talk trades. Heck, you can go back to the 1970s when the baseball owners approved Bill Veeck, the maverick baseball owner of the Cleveland Indians, the St. Louis Browns, and the Chicago White Sox. When the baseball owners approved Bill Veeck for a second time as owner of the Chicago White Sox, once he got approval at the winter meetings from the owners, he actually set a table up in the lobby of the hotel and said, open for business, had a sign, open for business. You want to trade with the White Sox? Sit down. Talk to Bill Veeck. He'd cut a deal with you right now. Those days are gone. And sadly, I think those days were gone before the remote baseball winter meetings this season. Now, there have been some trades. There have been some player transactions. They're going to have the Rule 5 draft of players who are not protected by major league teams. They're going to have that Rule 5 draft all by way of remote. But things have changed. And I say sadly, I believe that this changed even before COVID, because all of the complex contracts that we have today, the days are almost gone where you could get in the corner of a room, in the corner of a hotel lobby, and make a trade with a fellow general manager or a fellow head of baseball ops. That was changing even before COVID. But boy, I think one of the last times the baseball winter meetings used to be like the baseball winter meetings is when I went to the winter meetings in Anaheim, California in 2004. And the hot free agent was Carl Pavano. He had been pitching successfully for the then Florida Marlins, and now he was a free agent. And would the New York Yankees sign him? Would the Boston Red Sox sign him? Would the Mets make a play for Pavano, who came from nearby Connecticut? And I remember his agent, Scott Boras. Yes, Scott Boras. Anytime Scott Boras moved, the media was there to follow. And Boras had numerous news conferences. As it turns out, by the way, Pavano ended up signing with the New York Yankees and really was not the pitcher he was before he signed that big contract. But let that go. The baseball winter meetings were so much fun. Managers were available. This was the year, by the way, that the Boston Red Sox put an end to their 86-year World Series title drought. They won the World Series under manager Terry Francona. And there was Francona readily available, walking through the hotel lobby, having a news conference. I remember going to work out in the hotel exercise room. I got on the treadmill, and who got on the treadmill next to me? Terry Francona. And then managers, Lou Piniella, right there holding a news conference. I think all of the major league managers had news conferences. All of the major league managers went to the winter meetings except Joe Torre. He was then the manager of the New York Yankees, and this was when George Steinbrenner was still controlling the Yankees. And for some reason, he had a thing against the winter meetings, so he wouldn't send his people to the winter meetings. He wouldn't send his manager to the winter meetings. He finally relented and sent Brian Cashman to that particular winter meetings, but it was Cashman and a couple of other Yankees, and that was it. Everybody else, teams had contingents. They had their GMs, their assistant GMs, their minor league director of operations, this individual, that individual. The Yankees sent, I think, 2 or 3 people. That was it. I remember seeing Cashman pull up and taking his luggage out of the trunk of a car. But other than Torre not being there, and let's face it, he was a big-name manager, all the other managers were there. But there was Francona. I'll never forget this. There was Terry. He was on the treadmill next to me. Very nice. And, of course, very excited because he had done something that no other Red Sox manager had done since 1918, and that was manage the Boston Red Sox to a World Series championship. And then you'd be in the hotel lobby. In would walk Mark Harmon, the actor. In would walk Tom Lasorda. You name it, and a star would walk through, and in the lobby, and then would be the big welcoming committee, the broadcasters, media. It was really a fun time, and I'm afraid that those days are going to be gone forever, even post-COVID, that you're not going to see the activity you once saw at the baseball winter meetings. And that's too bad, because it was a time to stoke up the hot stove. It was a time to keep baseball going as the off-season had us buried in snow and sub-freezing temperatures. But sadly, I think those days are going to be gone, and you might have a time when they get together once more in a particular hotel, but I'm afraid to say, particularly with the owners losing a lot of money, and who am I to doubt their claims of losing money because of the virus, it's going to be a while before they spend money on sending their contingent to a city with the expense and all that goes with sending a contingent to baseball winter meetings. That may be something which changes forever. But even if it does return, where you go to a location, I'm not so sure you're going to get the freewheeling days we used to have, which made baseball so much fun. In fact, just in conclusion, I was reading a story because this week is the anniversary of when the Cincinnati Reds traded Frank Robinson to the Baltimore Orioles for Milt Pappas and 3 other players. Robinson supposedly was on the downside of his career at the age of 30. This anniversary was in 1965 is when it took place. I believe the trade was on December 9th, 1965. And the Orioles figured that he was still in the prime of his career. How right they were, by the way, because they ended up winning the World Series in 1966 with Frank Robinson on the team, and all Robinson did that year was win the Triple Crown. So that just was a tremendous trade. But how about this? Frank Robinson almost became a New York Yankees, because in going back through the files of the New York Times, there was the story about the trade, Robinson from the Reds to the Orioles, and there was the story that the New York Yankees were also interested in making a play, making a move to acquire Frank Robinson. But the Reds, the Yankees felt, were asking too much, trying to figure who the Reds were asking for from the Yankees, because after winning 5 straight American League pennants in 1965, they dropped to 6th. And who did they have on the team that they prevented the Reds from getting? Simply because the Yankees then in 66 finished last, while the Orioles won it all. Imagine if baseball history had changed if Frank Robinson were traded to the New York Yankees in the offseason of 1965. According to the New York Times, it almost happened, but it wasn't to be, and thus the Orioles won it all in 1966. But I miss the baseball winter meetings the way they used to be. That's going to be it for the Sportscaster Dan podcast. As always, thanks for listening. Thanks to subscribing. And remember, you can subscribe to my Sportscaster Dan sports newsletter, which I send out 3 mornings a week. Just go to sportscasterdan.com to subscribe. And also, tune into my other podcast, the Baseball Beat podcast, which is specifically about baseball. This podcast is about baseball, the sports news media, about a lot of other sports topics. Just so happens this time it deals with baseball because of the baseball winter meetings and the way they used to be. Thanks for listening.